Brian Lund. Brian has been employed with the municipality for the last 10 years and is an airport operations technician. Don Fennelman. Don has spent 25 years as a volunteer firefighter, and he is currently the district chief of the Hudson Fire Department. And finally, Randy Ingram. Randy has spent 35 years with the municipality of Sioux. He is one of the working foremen at the airport. So the three certificates for those two gentlemen will be handed over by staff. So congratulations and thank you to Brian, Don, and Randy for your service. Introduction of amendments.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. A motion that the agenda for the special council meeting of December 7th, 2022 be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Mayor Lawrence, yes, I do have one this evening from Councillor Costco. She has declared interest in item number 7.6, accounts receivable write-offs at the airport, as she has family members who own a business at the airport. So for the purposes of the agenda, that item will need to be lifted and voted on separately. Thank you.
Thank you. And adoption of minutes. Motion, I'm feeling like there's an echo in my
It's actually, it's just the sound. It's actually working as
okay, good, thanks.
Sorry.
Adoption of minutes. Motion to adopt the minutes of the following meetings. That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on October 19th, 2022 and the special inaugural council meeting held on November 16th, 2022 be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Costco. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And that the minutes of the District of Kenora Home for the Aged meeting held on September 29th, 2022 be received. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Timpson. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Determination of items requiring separate discussion. 7.1, personnel policy number 3-48, travel expenses. Council travel policy, 7.2, council travel policy. Councillor Timpson. 7.3, waste management changes at Hidden Lake landfill site. Councillor Lego. 7.4, Sturgeon River Road land transfer. Councillor Timpson. 7.5, Butler May Street land transfer. Councillor Timpson. 7.6 will be lifted. The accounts receivable, as there's a conflict there, so it must be lifted. 7.7, signing authorities. 7.8, Maniyawan Health Center's request for assistance to prevent emergency department closure. Updates to cemeteries tariff of rates. Councillor Timpson. 7.10, appointment of emergency services manager, fire chief, bylaw number 73-22. Councillor Lego. Appointment of acting mayor, bylaw number 67-22. Councillor Timpson. 7.12, Pinecrest District Home for the Aged, endorsement of City of Dryden representative. Thank you. So, adoption of items not requiring separate discussion. Move that the following items be adopted, and I have item 7.1, item 7.7, item 7.8, item 7.12. These were the ones that. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. I hope so. Sorry, that's okay. These are the ones that were not lifted. Okay. Yeah. I seem to recognize you. Okay, we're good. 7.1, 7.7, 7.8, and 7.12.
So a motion to adopt those items, moved by Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Lego. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And staff reports, starting with 7.2, council travel policy. The council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 53-22, being a bylaw to adopt policy number 1-6, council travel expenses policy. Moved by Councillor Costco, seconded by Councillor Timpson, and discussion starting with Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, just 1D, it seems to, I would think that should be out of there, given that we have 1A. 1D is to have council approval for a member's travel, whereas 1A is really just determined on the councillor's judgment according to the allotted budget for that travel. 1D is the way it used to be, but 1A, so it just would seem that 1A should not be there, or 1D should not be there.
Staff?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I missed that, and I can change it to remove D because A is the way that it's done now.
So what are we doing here? We are removing D.
Another thing too, I have about 3 points in that. Just submitting within 10 days, that could be a bit restricting, as frequently people might travel somewhere and then may take a few days off and then come back, and the 10 days may be a little bit too rushed, in my view. And
So Councillor Timpson, it's 10 working days. Did you want to suggest a change or to 15 or what did you want?
well, I don't know that there really should be a limit on it. It's hard to say, you know, but I mean, it could be 30 days, or I would presume as long as you get it into the end of the year. But most people will do it right away, but I just don't think it needs to be restricted.
Staff?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, to Councillor Timpson. Part of the reason why it says 10 days, it's fluid, like you know as well as I do. Like when they come in, I review the expenses, and they typically all get approved unless there's a serious error in it. We want to have some sort of timeline to prevent people from stockpiling all their expenses and submitting it at year end, because then it's hard to track the budget on a month-to-month basis as to where the travel expenses are at. So that's the reason why the 10 days are in there. We can change it to 20 days, it doesn't matter.
20,
But
30,
typically,
yeah,
if you
that
don't
would
get
be
it in
useful.
in
No,
10
that's-
days, I don't
yeah.
refuse it.
Fair enough, fair enough. Maybe 30 days just to,
Well, it does say working days, so we do 20 working days. That's
Yeah.
basically a month.
okay. And the
Okay,
other
so
one
20.
was, we aren't reimbursed for any travel within the municipality itself, other than Hudson. But we often have to go, say we have to go to 5 Mile Corner or to Pelican, for example. And I wonder if there should be some clause in there that, for example, travel within the municipality other than Hudson over 5 kilometers will be reimbursed.
Typically, that's going to be a trip to Black Sioux, which is outside the municipality.
That's outside, but say to Pelican School, for
Yeah, Pelican
example,
School is
that's
within the municipality, or Alcona perhaps. Or,
25 kilometers or maybe 15 kilometers.
so you're suggesting over 5 kilometers be reimbursed?
That's my suggestion, yeah.
And making the municipal office the central point of calculation.
I presume so, yeah.
Staff, any comments?
Or if a person travels more than 5 kilometers within the municipality for some project from wherever they are, they might live out in 5 Mile Corner themselves and have to come in here.
Staff?
I would tend to think that that would be part of council's remuneration to travel. You choose to live where you want within the municipality. So to come for meetings, I wouldn't necessarily think that that would be approved.
Not meetings, but things we're assigned to do, or, for example, when we get a zoning bylaw change, for example, we might want to drive out to see the place where they're talking about. And, you know, could be way out the end of Surgeon River Road, which is, you know, it's a fair distance to go. I just think there needs to be something in there for travel within the municipality for things we have to do.
Council, comments? Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, I would agree with staff that I think this should be considered part of our remuneration. I think we're councillors of the municipality. If we're doing visits or site visits within the municipality, I think that should be covered, or that should be on us if we choose to. I think there's a lot of scrutiny open up if we feel that we need to just go drive by a site and then we have to submit receipts, and then it's a burden on staff for them to process, to get us $8.50 in gas or something like that. I feel like it's too onerous on the system. I'd like to just keep it to travel outside the municipality.
Other councillors, comments? Councillor Van Breda.
Like to reflect that, just, you know, oh my goodness. Ooh. Sorry. Is it me? Anyway, I could just talk without this on.
No, that's okay.
Keep it on? Okay. I would say too, yeah, like if I were to drive from Hudson to work every day, does that count? Or something like that too? Or if I go see my friend on Butterfly Lake Road near the boat launch, yeah, I think it would just be the amount of paperwork I'll have to do, and also too, just the overall look, and just to save $8, $9, $10 it is what it is. Yeah, if it's all in the town limits, it's not really a big deal.
Councillor Lego.
Yeah, I think that's why we receive a monthly payment. So
Yeah.
that, for me, I've always seen it that way. Yeah, so for me, I would like to just see it kept the way it is. I accept that I make a certain amount from the municipality, and I would use that for going back and forth to anything that the municipality wants me to do, unless it's outside the town limits.
Any other councillor comments? Councillor Costco first, I'll come back to you, Councillor.
I agree.
Councillor Timpson?
Well, you know, this summer, for example, I had to go to Hudson twice and Pelican School twice, and there's 100 kilometers right there. 200 kilometers right there, and that's a fair chunk of gas at today's price. And that the allowance that we have, apparently it's for phone, but that hasn't gone up. That's been 10, 12 years, and it hasn't gone up. So.
Councillor Cassidy.
Are council permitted to drive municipal fleet vehicles?
Staff?
Oh, sorry. Through you, Mayor Lawrence. Yes, as long as we have your driver's licenses with our insurance company.
So that might be an option, Councillor Timpson, is if you got to go to Hudson, then
If you
we can sign out a vehicle and coordinate through the CAO possibly.
If you can, if it's available.
Councillor Van Breda.
Another comment. If anyone would want to ride to Hudson, I'm more than happy. You can hop in my car. Gas is on me. No big deal, yeah.
All right. It seems, Councillor Timpson, that the majority of councillors are saying leave it as status quo, so.
Okay.
Other comments?
No.
That was it? Okay, so anybody else have comments on the 7.1 overall? Clerk.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, just in follow-up to the discussion with respect to item 1D, if I may suggest for council's consideration that instead of eliminating that clause, that the section that reads "and has not been designated as one of the municipal representatives through a specific council resolution," take those words out and replace those words with "and has already used their full travel allocation for the year." That way, it still enables a member to come to council and request council permission to attend something, even if they don't have a budget for it anymore. Whereas if we don't put that in there, then there's no opportunity for that.
Councillor Timpson, you were the one that asked for, is that fair enough?
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's just that it was contrary to number 1, but that's fair enough.
Okay, with that change, and in item 4A, changing 10 days to 20 days, then that would be the revised motion, and we can make those minor changes and adopt the motion with that direction to staff to make those changes. All right, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.3, waste management changes at Hidden Lake Landfill. The council authorizes the following changes to the Hidden Lake Landfill fee structure and account system effective February 1st, 2023. Eliminate the 15% discount from residential municipal solid waste management MSW rate that is given to commercial MSW clients. Implement a new account system whereby only those businesses, no residential customers to have accounts, which currently operate within the municipality of Sioux Lookout and deposit a minimum of 12 tons annually at the landfill, are provided with a municipal account, i.e. to charge and be invoiced monthly, and hold the current landfill fee structure through December 31st, 2023, i.e. do not implement a cost of living increase in June of 2023, and then implement a fee increase annually thereafter, based on the November to October change in the Consumer Price Index National, which would then be implemented on January 1st of each year. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. A discussion starting with Councillor Lego.
How many businesses will be in the greater than 12-ton bracket?
Staff, who are we looking at here?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. Sorry, I didn't bring that information to the table today. We just found out at the last minute that the Public Works Manager couldn't be here tonight, so I'm just filling in. So I will try my best to answer as many questions as I can. I can give you an idea of how many people would be over that amount. We're looking at approximately 10 to 15 businesses.
That are over 12 tons.
Correct.
Okay. And where did this 12-ton bracket come from?
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, what we did was we looked at the last 2 years, month by month, as to what the customers were currently bringing in monthly to the landfill, what the amount was on their bill. So like, for example, some customers, they would only use the landfill once a month and their bill would only be around $8. So we were looking at it from a staff point of view, from a paper point of view, postage and everything else, and the staff's time to produce all this information. And so that's where that number came from.
Okay. Not to implement the cost of living in June of 2023. Is the cost of living in reference to the Consumer Price Index?
That is correct.
Okay, so we're going to skip this year?
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, currently right now we have the cost of living to look at from starting in June. So that wouldn't come into effect until, I believe, January 1st of 2024.
Okay. And eliminating the 15%, that's, you want to eliminate all businesses from having 15% discount?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, that is correct.
Okay. I do have an issue with that, especially if you're going to get rid of a bunch of accounts that shouldn't have been on there in the first place. I think these businesses do rely on that discount for passing that on to their customers. It would be like us asking the CAO to reduce the numbers of managers and then to top it off, take a 15% discount. So that's how I would relate that in my mind. So I would, as it's presented, I don't think it's going to be done, anything's going to be voted on tonight. I think that another report's going to have to come back since the Public Works Manager is not here to answer these questions. So I do have a whole host of other questions, but I'll let someone else answer some questions or get some answers to the questions they have first, and then I'd like a second round.
Thank you. Councilor Costco.
You said the 12,000 tons. Now, the next lower business, is it significantly lower, or are there people like 10,000, 9,000, or is it like 12,000 and then they drop significantly?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we didn't do a whole analysis on every single customer to determine where that bracket would lie. We looked at it from a month-to-month basis, but we didn't compile all that information. So if council wishes to see that, we can produce that for them.
Councilor Cassidy.
Yeah, similar to Councilor Lego and Councilor Costco, that was my question as well. It was around what percentage of our account holders sit above that mark. The other side of that too is what happens if one of these businesses that's above that mark falls below that in the following year? Will we delete their account? Will they lose it? Or what if another business increases their account or increases waste coming? Then do we give them an account, and how do we prove that?
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, for customers who currently, let's just say hypothetically, would not be on the list, we wouldn't know by looking at their slip. Like, we would have to pull every single one of those slips to determine whether or not they've gone over that or not. Like, we wouldn't be tracking that separately. Currently, how we're tracking all the customers at this moment.
But if a business went below that, would we, like say a business right now, one of the 10 to 15 that you mentioned, went below the 12-ton threshold one year, what would happen to that business then and their account?
Well, through you, Mayor Lawrence, I think we would do an analysis or ask the customer why they went below, depending on what it is that occurred. We would have to have that conversation internally with the CAO.
For myself, I would, before voting to support this, I would like to see the amount of businesses that are going to be impacted by this change, to make that decision. Yeah. And possibly maybe a little more similar to what you said, Carly, about how the businesses could be added an account, or if a business would possibly lose their account if it's like a 3-year average or something that it's gone for, something that's established that would become policy that we could stand on. So,
Councilor Van Breda.
Thank you. I'd just like to also comment too that we should be encouraging people to produce less waste, right? Especially over. So, yeah, this 12,000 tons. Maybe we could even more of a way to encourage businesses to reduce less waste and kind of, just a second what Councilor Cassidy said that we should see how many businesses in Sioux Lookout fall above the 12 tons and see about that. But thanks so much.
Further comments, Council? Councilor Timpson.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea of sort of automatically increasing someone's expenses well over the cost of living, which this would do if we eliminate the 15%. And I don't know that this is the time to be doing it with the way costs are going up everywhere. I agree with Councillor Van Beda that we have to encourage less waste, but I think we have to be fair too and not unwisely raise fees so much so that we're going to be putting people out of, making it hard for businesses and for the customers. That's my view.
Councillor Bon.
Furthermore, to Councillor Cassidy's comment on thresholds being below and above, what if a new business comes in? It's December, November, and he says, well, I'm here for 2 years. It could be a contractor from out of town. Maybe that's different, but maybe he has to commit to paying the 12 tons to get the 15% discount. So there are quite a few questions that have to be answered.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I know the clerk wanted to help comment on this as well as the CAO.
We'll get there, yep. Thank you. Anything else, council? Staff, yep.
Just through you, Mayor Lawrence, just for clarification to Councillor Bowen, the 15% discount would be eliminated in its entirety. What we're talking about is any businesses that have about 12 tones or more a year would be able to have an account where we would bill them out for their tipping fees versus paying at the landfill site. So the 15% is not tied to the 12 tones. Okay.
Clerk.
Through Mayor Lawrence, yeah. So also the general idea with respect to creating a threshold to provide user accounts essentially comes from an analysis of the usage. There's a litany of folks who have accounts. Some aren't even active businesses in Sioux Lookout anymore. Many of them who bring the equivalent of maybe 1 or 2 garbage bags a month. That actually, we end up losing money because the time to process the invoice, mail it, as the treasurer mentioned, and the staff time to process that, we're actually losing money on those accounts. So what we're really trying to get, the crux of what's happening here, is to clean up our list of accounts, make sure that true, viable, current operating businesses are the ones who are on here. That, just to summarize, is sort of the intention behind this.
Thank you. Councillor Costco.
I think the concept of having the account for a business is because the person who goes to the dump is usually the low man on the totem pole and doesn't have money. So they can't prohibitively pay. Are they taking the credit card? Like, how would they pay? So it's a lot easier for a business to have an account and they can send anyone to the dump. They don't have to worry about having money. They just run this to the dump, put it on the account. We'll deal with it later. So I understand removing people who don't have a business, but people who have businesses, usually the person who is going to the dump is, the low man, the yard man, or whatever. They're running to the dump. And now if the business has to stop and say, how much do you think the dump is? Do you have to give them cash? Do you have to give them a credit card? It becomes prohibitive for that business. So you're saying it's prohibitive for your business, but do we want to put that on the backs of our business people? I don't think so. Yeah.
Councillor Cassidy.
Sorry, I just further to that point, I understand what you're saying, clerk. I would just like to see the numbers, and maybe that threshold gets changed and we look to phase that in. Maybe it's, if that's a problem, like you say, maybe we just look at 3 ton a year and move up to there instead of going so drastic. I think with this, we're going to have a significant increase, obviously, if we eliminate this 15%, and then we're going to have potentially a significant number of people that are going to lose their accounts too. There's just a whole lot that is happening here, and I think maybe a more of a phased or gradual approach might be the better solution here.
Councillor Lego.
And so we want to eliminate 15%, and then we want to add 8% on top of that with inflation. And that is going to be directly charged to the consumers in Sioux Lookout. I don't think they're going to be too happy with that. Unfortunately, we're playing catch up on trying to pay for the closing fees. Businesses now are paying the price for past, I'm not going to call them mistakes, but overlooks. And unfortunately, I've been watching some news lately, and many experts are saying inflation is going to be above 5% to 15% for the next 5 years. So we're in a world for hurt, and I don't know if we can assume some of that weight from businesses and residents. That's why I have an issue with removing the 15%. I don't have an issue with cleaning up the business ones. I think some of the major big businesses in town should get that 15%. Some of the information I would like, what year did this new landfill open? When did the municipality start paying into the landfill closure fees, reserves? What is that reserve at today? I kind of have an idea. It's $300,000. Where should it be? considering we opened up so many years earlier than that. What is the amount of the closing fees and any maintenance fees going? I guess we have 25 years that we have to maintain it after that. I would just like that number again. I know that we did get a report on it. I would also like to know what the life cycle of the landfill is, now that we were told that it is a longer life cycle, and if we can make some of this money up in the future as we move forward. To meet that number that from the report that was given for the closing fees, how much do we need to put into the landfill closure reserves each year? We need that number. I believe any surplus should be going to the majority of that closure fees, since we are behind. I would like to know what the landfill surplus was in 2021. Again, I have an idea. It was about $136,000, but I would like a concrete number on that. And how much of that, I don't know if any of that has gone into the closure landfill fees. What is the estimated surplus for 2022? I believe it should be more because we're now taking construction waste there. And we still haven't received a 2021 audit on any of this information. Again, first thing, out of any landfill surpluses should go to the annual closure reserves, and anything left should be set aside for any issues, maintenance, new machinery, equipment at the landfill. And it's unfortunate that we've missed so many years putting money into the reserve, and unfortunately, people now have to pay for that overlook. And I think it's unfair. Once we get information about how many more years we have, maybe we could figure out something. Again, I have no issue with the businesses being gone through, but I think some of the major businesses should still get that discount. Things are going to be tough for everybody, and if we can make it a bit easier on them for the residents, because it all gets passed down. We all know that it all gets passed down. So, thank you.
Council, any further comments? So I'm going to suggest, and you can help me with this, it almost seems to me like there's maybe two reports we might split the report. One is sort of the housekeeping report related to some of the things you'd like to clean up in terms of the accounting system. I don't know how much of that actually has to be approved by council. So you'd have to make a decision on and bring a report back that's more or less the housekeeping, and then a separate report that is related to this item expanded or contracted or whatever it is. And in general, I would agree. If council had said they want to approve this tonight, I was going to suggest to mitigate it that at least that 15% be phased in over several years. We're not going there tonight, but if it is put back in, I'd like to see it phased in as a suggestion over several years rather than one big hit. And we say cost of living. Can we get the language so that it's, I think we have, it's consumer price index is what we're referring to. Is that correct? So let's use that and not muddy the waters with cost of living, because I think they are two different numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, I would like to suggest that, and clerk, you can help me to withdraw the motion and that it be brought back and staff can decide whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 5 reports or how it's presented. Is that fair enough?
Okay.
Councillor Timpson.
I'm just wondering if we could see that 2013 report. I'd like to know what the rationale was at that point.
Go ahead, Sioux.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lawrence, to Councillor Timpson and also to Councillor Lego. Staff have taken down all the comments, and we will bring back all that information with our next report. But Councillor Lego, if you wouldn't mind sending me, just to make sure we capture everything that you said. Thank you.
All right, so clerk, lead me through withdrawing the motion.
So through Mayor Lawrence, Councillor Lego was the mover, and if he concurs with withdrawing the motion, it is withdrawn.
So motion withdrawn, and staff will take direction from all the discussion at the table and come back at some point in the future, near or midterm, I guess. Thank you. Very good. Item. Typically, public would indicate at noon the day of that they wanted to make a. That's. I don't see any. Sure. I think there's only one member of the public here who. Are there any comments from the public? If there are, stand and state your name and thank you. Sure. I think what I would suggest is, thank you, Chris, is that that be handled through staff rather than, I think, so to staff to inform the report that comes to the council table? Yeah, everyone has been in talks with,
hopefully continue. Yes, I'll follow up with Paula so that she has the opportunity to address council. Okay.
Thank you. Item 7.4, Sturgeon River Road land transfer. The council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 70-22, being a bylaw to establish and acquire certain lands. Moved by Councillor Bone, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Discussion starting with Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I've never heard of people giving away land, and it's in 7.4 and 7.5. And I'm just curious to know, is there some sort of a liability for these people having this in their name, or will the taxes go down, or is what would push people to give away a piece of land?
I think our planner is with us, so directed to the planner. Yep. Planner.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lawrence. I'm not a lawyer, so I will preface this statement with that. My understanding is that, yes, there is a liability for the property owners if something were to happen on that stretch of road. There would be a liability for them rather than, obviously, a public road is a little bit different. So, yes, that would be part of it. Taxes, again, I'm not sure of the specifics of what would happen, but because that land would no longer be part of their property, technically the property would be smaller, so they may be taxed less. The tax assessment may go down.
Yeah, just.
Any further questions, council? Thank you. So in that case, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And item 7.5. That council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 71-22, being a bylaw to establish and acquire certain lands related to the Butler May Street land transfer. Moved by Councillor Costco, seconded by Councillor Bone. Discussion starting with Councillor Timpson.
Same question, but with this one, how would the town use this? It mentioned in the report that the town might be able to use this piece of land, how would they be able to use it?
So same planner, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I actually might defer that question to our Manager of Development Services, just because he's been in touch with the property owner actually discussing this transfer.
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, yeah, so this isn't part of a road allowance, but it is directly between two road allowances that we currently take care of. So it's a triangle on a kind of an area that you're not going to be able to construct on, so it's of no use to the current property owner, and potentially down the road, if we do some road works or we do something or run a hydro line through there or something, it could be beneficial to the municipality down the road.
Councillor Van Breda.
So just one quick comment, like, would it be possible to turn this to maybe to like a little parkette or something, make it look beautified for the town?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, there's, I guess, always that opportunity. I mean, it's in an area that maybe there isn't a lot of public traveling through,
yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just like a sand pit, right? It's just. Yeah.
No, it's currently treed, and actually the elevation is quite great there. So it's High Street and May Street there. So it's,
yeah.
Okay. Any further comments or questions, council? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, staff. Item 7.6, accounts receivable write-offs airport. And Councillor Costco, I will do what you need to do. The council authorizes the treasurer to write off the uncollectible airport accounts receivables in the amount of $311,158.65 as set out in the treasurer's attached summary report dated November 28th, 2022. And further, the council authorizes the transfer from airport operating reserve fund to offset the outstanding balance. Moved by? Need a mover? Thank you. Councillor Van Breda. Seconded by Councillor Bone. Is there any discussion? This wasn't lifted by anybody. Carry on, Councillor Timpson. Thank you.
I presume this is rent, is it?
Sorry.
I presume this is rent?
Treasurer?
It's payment of rent?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, most of it is penalties that were added onto customers' accounts.
Oh, okay. So that's why there was interest on
Correct.
penalties. Penalties for?
Sorry, for, at the time, it was for payments that were, it was for payments that were placed on accounts that were then not allocated properly.
Councillor Lego.
So this was a error within finance at the airport? That they got the payments, but they didn't think they got the payments?
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, what we found out through our discussions with these customers and looking over all the paperwork that we could currently find, we noticed that customers were receiving the late penalties on the accounts, but were then never notified. So when payments would come in, the payments would be applied to those late fees first, and then if there was anything left over, was being applied to their invoice. However, through documentation that was found and consulting with the companies, it was found out that the companies were never notified of that.
Okay, so they were late, and they got penalized for being late, but they never got the documentation of the penalty.
Some of the payments were actually received on time, but were applied to late penalties from past invoices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Van Breda.
And it does say here too that these are people in good standing, or these are the customers in good standing, so they do pay their invoices in full along with the interest charges, if any, right? So it's not really the fault of these customers, more the fault of us. So my question is that, are we gonna be doing the same thing this time next year?
No.
Okay.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, what we've done over the last year and a half is we've put together a standard reporting that goes out to all the customers now, that gives them more information on their accounts and exactly where everything is currently sitting.
Okay, good. So at least like they know that it's not their fault. They're still okay. They're valued clients of the airport. So, yeah. Okay.
Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I guess what strikes me is that we're talking about 3 accounts and over $300,000 in interest on arrears, or I don't know, but it's for rent and services that they receive from the airport. That was initially the issue.
Sorry,
These customers, we're talking about their rent and then the services that they pay to the airport for. Is that correct, or?
For their, on their accounts?
Yeah, like what are the arrears for? Their rent or for snow plowing or what? Like,
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I think currently Councillor Timpson is just asking what the source of the fees were in the first place. So, Councillor Timpson, a big portion of it would be fuel purchases.
fuel, okay.
That's why these interest charges will be so high, because those fuel purchase amounts are so high.
Okay, that's why, and that's why 300,000, okay. Yeah. I thought we were talking about people that rent or,
Oh, okay, sorry.
okay.
Anything further, council? Staff? No. All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Would you indicate, Councillor Costco, to return? Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to 7.9, updates to cemeteries tariff of rates. The council approves and adopts the updated cemetery tariff of rates as attached to the Manager of Corporate Services Municipal Clerk's Report number 2022-101 dated December 7, 2022, to be effective January 1, 2023. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Van Breda. Discussion. And I didn't note who lifted this, but Councillor Van Breda.
I believe it's Councillor
Timpson, thank you. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, again, this is similar to the waste management issue. You know, these rates, increase in rates are far above the cost of living, and then with the 50% in one case and 100% in some of them. And then particularly if we talk about our residents who, the residents that might be purchasing this service here, they're likely to be elderly and on fixed incomes, and you know, really how much can we increase our fees right now during this particular time? And maybe we have to just keep it to the cost of living. I think there's one here that's 13% and another that's 10%. And that's how I feel. I don't think we should be raising fees a tremendous amount right now.
Councillor Lego.
I just wanted to get a definition of who the municipality considers non-resident.
Through Mayor Lawrence, there's a definition actually in the cemetery bylaw of a non-resident, and so I believe the way it goes is that there's a definition of resident, and if anyone doesn't fit that, so I believe it's something like, you know, has lived in the municipality continuously for a period of greater than, I think it's 5 years, maybe 7. I would have to double check the exact wording. The idea essentially is that people who live here, their taxes go towards the upkeep of the cemeteries, versus someone who hasn't lived here their whole life, they haven't contributed towards the cost of operating the cemeteries, hence the non-resident rate.
Okay. Yeah, because as Councillor Timpson was pointing out, just for the niches, 10% increase for residents and then 53% increase for non-residents.
So on that one, that was actually, we're trying to correct an error from the price list when we implemented the fees. So right now, non-resident rate for in-ground graves is 200% of the resident cost. We're just trying to put the columbarium on par with that. So that if you're buying an in-ground grave or if you're buying columbarium niche and you're a non-resident, the fee is, the percentage is the same. Additional percentage.
And do we get many non-resident?
In the 16 years that I've been here, I think we've sold maybe one.
I would just note that you can help me, Clerk, the columbarium rates came in last year, correct? So and they were just introduced because it was new last year. Had they been introduced at this rate, I mean, it was just, these are the costs that have changed from sources beyond us in some ways. Councillor Van Breda.
Yeah, just one question. So this would also entail with the Hudson Cemetery as well, right?
To you, Mayor Lawrence, no. The Evergreen Cemetery isn't owned by the municipality, okay. So we have no control. We don't direct interments there. We have nothing to do with the Evergreen Cemetery at this time.
Okay. Okay.
Councillor Lego.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, just one final thing. Just one comment. would we be able to know how much it would cost for the Evergreen Cemetery if we find out who owns it? Or
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Lawrence, we are going through a process right now with the Bereavement Authority of Ontario. That's the provincial entity that oversees the, I guess, the death sector, if you want to call it that. There are provisions in place for abandoned cemeteries. This one isn't necessarily abandoned. We do know who the license holder is, and we are trying to work with them to address the maintenance issues at that cemetery. If by next spring there isn't a clear agreement in place with respect to how that's going to be addressed, then we will proceed with the process to assume that cemetery.
okay, thank you.
Councillor Lego.
Also, in the report, there was an issue with the cost of plaques, and has the staff looked at other sources?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, so we, when we purchased the columbarium, we did consider whether we were going to use the plaques as a method of revenue to offset the impact on the tax base, and it was felt that that would be a prudent move at that time. So in doing so, we have an agreement with the supplier of the columbarium that we will also purchase the plaques from them. So as they raise their costs, we obviously have to raise ours, so that, because the costs of personalized plaques, I don't believe should be subsidized by the taxpayer.
I also agree with Councillor Timpson that maybe we should look at tying that to the consumer price index instead of just jumping 10.
Right.
For the non-residents, maybe we go with to level it out again, since we don't get hardly any. And that way, then it'll be fixed, and then from then on, it can just move up with the consumer price index.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes, that we can certainly look at that option. That's not going to work for the plaques, though, because the supplier has increased the cost a lot more than, it went from, $5.25, and we were selling them for $5.30 to $5.75. So, a $50 increase is a lot more than, 8 or 5 or 6 or 7%. So at the very least, we need to keep pace with what they're charging us, so that we're not losing money.
Yeah, I think for that's not an issue, but for some of the other things.
And we're only proposing to increase the fee for one of the for the niche plaques, but the memory wall plaques would remain the same price, because that hasn't increased too much. That we're still able to generate some revenue from those sales.
So based on this discussion, are there any changes to this? Are we suggesting that there will be changes here? No. The consumer price index, is that coming into play? Or?
Through Mayor Lawrence, so again, my recommendation to council is that we make the columbarium niches for non-resident, that we use the same formula that we use for in-ground graves, because it's kind of hard to justify why we would use different formula for that. So I would suggest we make this change. Again, it may be another 10 years before we get a non-resident who wants to make this type of purchase. This doesn't happen very often at all. With respect to the plaques, I recommend that we implement the increase that staff has identified, so that we can keep pace and continue to generate a bit of revenue. And with respect to the care and maintenance, we have no control over that. The province is saying you shall collect, and so we then have to. So from staff's perspective, I do not recommend any changes at this time.
Further discussion, council? All in favor? Carried. Item 7.11, item 7.10, appointment of Emergency Services Manager, Fire Chief, bylaw number 73-22. The council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 73-22, being a bylaw to appoint an emergency services manager, fire chief for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux, and to rescind bylaw number 55-20. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Bone. Discussion starting with Councillor Lego.
When we went through this in 2020, did we not have the deputy chief assume the position for the 3 months to find a new candidate for fire chief. Do you remember?
Staff?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, no, we didn't. What we did was asked Chief Favat to continue on until we recruited.
Okay, all right, yeah,
The same process.
okay, all right. No, that's good. I just wasn't sure. I was trying to look back on the reports, and they didn't go back that far on the computer, so.
Councillor Timpson?
Yeah, it brings up the issue is that this is a full-time job then to be the fire chief. Where it used to be, they used to have bylaw under it. Used to be under fire, well, it was one department. Can we comment on that, and will it go back to that? With
Staff,
Decisions were made based on the staffing of the day to move bylaw to the clerk's department. That very well may change again. I haven't determined that at this point. There is enough work for solely emergency services manager, fire chief, if that's what you're asking, to still be full-time. In fact, I'm proposing to add an additional position to that under our org review as well, because especially given the legislative requirements for extra training and things like that, for all of our fire department staff, there's a significant amount of work in that department.
Okay.
anything further, council? So, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.11, the council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 67-22, being a bylaw to appoint an acting mayor for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux. Moved by Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Bone. Discussion starting with Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I just think that there should be a little bit more information and discussion about this as to which is the better system to go by. With the deputy mayor, the person is always sort of there on call, ready, you know, and even if the mayor is not here, or is here, may not be able to undertake some duties like greeting or opening a business or something, and then it would be automatically known that the deputy would be available. Whereas with the other system, it seemed that we'd be calling around for people to go to open a business or whatever. So I just think that we should discuss it a little bit more as to which system to go by.
Yeah, I think I think the intent is acting mayor or deputy. There's somebody appointed for that period of time, the same as deputy would be. So it's not necessarily calling around. There is an acting mayor named for an 8-month period. It goes 8 months, 8 months, 8 months, 8 months, 8 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
Councillor Lego.
No, I thought we decided to go with the acting mayor route instead of the deputy mayor last time. So I think Councillor Timpson's asking, can we discuss having a deputy mayor? Or do we want to go with acting mayor again? And would anyone want to be deputy mayor?
Well, the deputy mayor was always 8 months, 8 months, and 8 months as well. Before, when we had deputy mayor, it was the same system, but it was, you knew that you were there and available, even if the mayor was in town. You might have to carry out some duties for the mayor, whereas with acting mayor, it's basically when the mayor is not in town, it seems to me. And
Not available. Can staff, can you?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I think the intent is the exact same thing, really. The acting mayor is there to step in if the mayor is not available. So it would be the same thing as the deputy mayor. The deputy mayor wouldn't have any extra duties other than to replace the mayor when the mayor's not here.
The difference in name only, or why are we acting or deputy? Is there an advantage, disadvantage?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, in the previous term of council, it was the council of the day felt that it was preferable to go with acting mayor over deputy mayor. One, as a cost-saving measure, because deputy mayor did receive additional compensation. So it was seen, one, as a cost-saving measure. It was also, if my recollection of the discussions are accurate, that it was felt that given the frequency and need, a deputy mayor wasn't required for a municipality of our size. And it was further debated and discussed by council that if there was to be a deputy mayor, that should be an elected position, not an appointed position. We're a little past the post for the 2022 to 2026 term to deal with that, but you know, certainly this council can look at its composition ahead of the 2026 election if it so desires.
Councillor Cassidy.
I'm good with the way this stands. I do recall, as the clerk mentioned there, some of the discussion. I feel this is more open and fair to all council, that everyone serves a term to back up Mayor Lawrence. This has come up in conversation with some other councillors in some other municipalities, and you know, sometimes seeing a deputy mayor can be almost seen as maybe there's favoritism or put on by, you know, if the mayor selects a deputy or whatnot. And I feel that this process is more fair, more open, and I'm perfectly fine with how this is.
But you can, with the deputy mayor, you can have the 8 months, 8 months, 8 months, and 8 months.
But what's the difference between deputy and acting?
It's just that the deputy would, it just felt a little bit more like, you know, I've done both, and it just feels more with the deputy mayor, you're a little bit more on call for when the mayor is here. And with the acting mayor, it seemed to be when the mayor was only not here. So
I think it's both. It's if the mayor's in town, but he's tied up at another event, the first call, and the way I understood this is the acting mayor, or could be the deputy, is the first phone call that staff would make if they need someone to fill in for the mayor. I see the two positions the same, just a different name, that's all. I think this is fine. I like the fact that it's shared across all members of council. It gives everyone that exposure and that experience of, you know, having to go up and to events and say thank you, and, you know, a day in the life of the mayor a little bit sometimes, but it's good. So.
No, totally.
Councillor Van
I
Breda.
agree with that.
Maybe it might be best if we were to add into the bylaw that the acting and deputy are the same, that the words can be used interchangeably.
I'd go to the clerk for a
Maybe,
comment on the municipal legality of that. Let's say.
To you, Mayor Lawrence. So I guess there is a slight difference legislatively speaking, because the deputy mayor, by virtue of being deputy, carries all the authority and responsibility and so on of the mayor, whereas then the acting mayor carries out the activities that are specifically delegated by the mayor. So, for example, if, you know, a deputy mayor could come in and say, you know what, I'm going to sign the minutes of the council meeting because I'm here 5 minutes earlier than the mayor, and legislatively speaking, that would be fine. We wouldn't normally have an acting mayor sign the minutes. We would just hold the minutes till the mayor's back in town. So there's some things like that, slight legality difference.
Thank you.
Councillor Lego.
Yeah.
I would recommend that we just remove the word deputy mayor from the whole thing and just use acting mayor, because that's what we do.
Yep.
Because I believe deputy mayor has a whole different meaning. And for me, it should be one person. And again, as you said, maybe it should be an elected position. So instead of.
Councillor Bone.
Are we able to remove it? It kind of talks, like it gives you the section 242 municipal act, just as amended, talk about the deputy and the acting mayor in the same paragraph, so I don't know if we can get rid of it.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. So yes, the preamble there is just an excerpt from the legislation, and that's why it references both terms. I would leave it in for the purposes of the preamble, just so that we're not deviating from the actual wording of the legislation. But for the actual operative part of the bylaw. Yeah, we're only using the term acting mayor because that's the intent, or at least was the intent when it was written.
Look, if we can change provincial legislation at this table, I'm all for it. Let's do what we can. Councillor Lego.
And who decides who's going first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I'm trying to think of how I made that determination. I don't think it was names that have had. I think it may have been a continuation from the last term, putting some of the returning councillors on top just because they have a little bit more experience and giving the newer councillors an opportunity to gain some experience. That's essentially how that went. But I mean, the order can absolutely be changed. That's just,
I mean, when I looked at it, I think it makes sense to give the three new councillors time to settle in and feel more comfortable, and that was why the three existing that split. Other than that, I'm not sure how the staff.
Another reason why staff recommended that the incumbent councillors were first was because there may be an opportunity, or not an opportunity, but there may be a time where they have to chair a council meeting, and it would be early on in the term if one of the new councillors were to take over the chair of the meeting. So we thought it's best to learn, and then later on, if you have to chair one of the meetings, it'll be much easier for you.
But initiation by fire? I mean,
Learn quicker. Last.
Councillor Van Breda, sorry.
Oh no, sorry. It was me. Woo.
Okay, Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about if somebody would like to switch, maybe Councillor Cassidy would switch with me on the thing there, because a year from now, I usually go away for a couple of weeks at Christmas time, and if you're interested in switching.
Councillor.
I'm willing to as well to help out.
Sorry?
If any councillor's gone, I think any other councillor would step up and help out.
You wanted to switch it for the bylaw right now? Would that be better, Clerk? Yeah.
I don't know if you're okay with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine with me.
Okay.
So we're just switching Councillor Timpson and Councillor Lego's times, 8-month
Or
slots.
Councillor
Councillor, did I say Councillor?
Cassidy,
What did
I
I say?
Oh, you call
Yeah,
Councillor Lego again.
Yeah.
Well, he said yes.
We're both willing. We're both willing.
So you want to switch with each other?
She asked for my spot first, so
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Or you can have your pick, Councillor Timpson.
I'd like your spot.
Okay, it's yours.
So who would be a logical, is there a Councillor Van Breda or Councillor Bone? Are you willing to switch with Councillor Costco?
I'm more than happy to, Joan. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
sorry,
Councillor
Councillor.
Van Breda and Councillor Costco's time slots, 8-month slots switch?
Luckily, I don't know what I'm doing 3 years from now, so.
I don't know what I'm doing either, so. All I know is I'm happy if people are willing to step up and act as mayor, whatever the process is. Thank you very much. Anything else on this? Anything else, Council? Then without those changes to the time slots, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And that concludes the staff report section. We have, there's no delegations tonight. So bylaws are next. Carry on, Mr. Clerk, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, thank you. The following bylaws are before council this evening for consideration, 3 readings and passing. Bylaw number 53-22 being a bylaw to adopt policy number 1-6, council travel expenses policy. Bylaw number 6722 being a bylaw to appoint an acting mayor for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux. Bylaw number 69-22 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 50-05 being a bylaw to adopt the personnel policy manual for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux as amended. Bylaw number 70-22 being a bylaw to establish and acquire certain lands, Sturgeon River Road land transfer. Bylaw number 71-22 being a bylaw to establish and acquire certain lands, May Street land transfer. A bylaw number 73-22 being a bylaw to appoint an emergency services manager / fire chief for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux and to rescind bylaw number 55-20.
Bylaws number 53-22, 67-22, 69-22, 70-22, 71-22, and 73-22 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Van Breda. All in favor? Carried. No notices of motion, no outside resolutions. So we have a motion to move into closed session to discuss matters of general nature as noted below. The council moves into closed session at 6:40 p.m. Subject matter relating to a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, Section 239 2K. One item,
enter, no, we want to.
Yeah. There we go.
Then how do I properly exit this?
Oh, here. So you can, sorry. Ooh, my mic's on. So you can either just use this. Boop. Or if you don't want to use it, you can just go boop. Also, if you want to turn on,
Closed session.
so this,
Back in,
when you
return to
swipe up
open
like
session.
this, has all your open apps. So you have open apps. You can close some of those.
How are we doing? Are we back on? We're good? All right.
Go back to this. Also, if you want to turn on the brightness. on
Thanks,
this.
Councillor. We'll get started. Ratification of resolutions, passing of resolutions and/or bylaws arising from closed session. Clerk, you'll lead me through this. Thank you.
Pardon me, through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes. As follows, so after that, there will be direction to staff. Respecting leasing negotiations. And then, if you don't mind, Mayor Lawrence, I'd like a motion on this, and then we'll do the motion separately on the bylaw.
So
So the motion reads that council ratifies direction given to staff relative to items presented in closed session as follows. Direction to staff respecting policing negotiations.
moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. And separately.
And then next, Mayor Lawrence, the motion will read that council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 68-22, being a bylaw to make appointments to various boards, commissions, and committees, and to rescind bylaw number 92-18.
Moved by Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Timpson. All in favor? Carried.
And that's all with respect to reporting out from closed session.
Thank you. The bylaw number 72-22 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipality of Sioux, December 7th, 2022. Special council meeting be read first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor.
My apologies, Mayor Lawrence.
We haven't put that table on the table yet?
No, you didn't get a mover and seconder. We also need 3 readings for bylaw number 68-22, being the bylaw to make appointments to various boards, commissions, and committees.
Be read first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Bone. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
That's all right? No? That was a lot of work in closed session to come up with only
2 little things.
bylaw number 72-22 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipality of Sioux, December 7th, 2022 special council meeting. Be read first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Timpson. All in favor? We are now adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a happy Christmas.
Thank you.
It seems like at the beginning of the meeting was, we've already done Christmas messages once, twice. How often do we keep doing?